serious question. How can our need for control be manipulated by external forces, by people, groups, or even large organizations? This topic is especially relevant right now, with fundamentalist and extremist beliefs making headlines, both here in Australia and around the world. For example, we recently saw a devastating mass shooting in Bondi, Australia, and the question has been asked, how does this happen? In my experience working with people who have been through trauma, I've seen firsthand how aligning with certain groups can take someone to extremes. In Western societies, we often see issues like migration or the housing crisis politicized in the media. The narratives we are fed are frequently shaped by what those in power want us to focus on. This constant stream of messaging taps into our survival instincts and influences what we feel comfortable expressing, as well as the beliefs we adopt. Over time, this conditioning can take over our personal narrative. We might find ourselves adopting only one specific belief, which then ties us to a group or demographic. We gravitate towards these affiliations for a sense of safety and belonging, but often, these alliances don't genuinely serve our best interests. Those of us who have grappled with trauma know just how easy it is to fall into this trap time and time again. Speaking personally, as someone who was adopted, I have discovered how common and how easily we can be manipulated. During my search to find my identity and connection with my biological family and cultural roots. But here's the catch. This same mechanism can block our healing. If we want to build strong connections that support our nervous system, helping us to feel safe, to help re-regulate ourselves, and heal, we need to understand how and why we connect, and with whom. It's about negotiating these connections to create the right environment for our growth. To ask the question, what am I being told to believe, and does this support my healing?
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening all, it's Bear here. And in today's video, we're still exploring the way we engage with the world around us when we're coming from a survival base. And all the perspectives of our ego and the person we have constructed to do this, the filters, protections, and all the layers we have of control and our reasons behind it. And in this video, I want to start to explore how our need for control can be manipulated by others and external groups and organizations. And what's motivated this is there's a lot of fundamentalist stuff happening at the moment. We see it in the media. Here in Australia, we had a very bad, a mass shooting happen in Bondi. And I've been talking with people who have been asking me about how does a person get to that place? And I've always referred it back to when you're working with people in trauma, how group alignments can take it to that extreme. And in the Western world in particular, politicizing of things, migrants are the reason for housing crises and all these things that are going on in the media, and how the media is manipulating through whatever the government desires to be focused on, feeds into our survival mechanisms and shapes what we perceive we're allowed to express and what we aren't. And over time, it takes over our narrative to where we only align with a specific belief. And then that specific belief associates with a specific group or a demographic within society, and we move towards that to gain that sense of safe and belonging. That doesn't necessarily have our best interests at heart. 9 times out of 10 it doesn't. And anybody who's lived with trauma for a long period of time understands, if we're honest, we fall for this trap all the time. I've fallen for this trap numerous times. And coming from an adoption base, I have added layers for it because I'm trying to identify with aspects of my family and my cultures. But this mechanism blocks our healing. This mechanism is something that we need to understand so we can keep it in balance. And this video and the last one are all around balance. If we're going to build the right kind of connections for our nervous system to be safe, to be able to co-regulate, to heal, we need to understand how and the ways we connect and why we connect and the types of things and people we're drawn to connect with, so that we can negotiate with it and work with it to get the right ecology around us to heal. Yes, we can be part of a group that can make us feel powerful. We see this with, dysfunctional teens in gangs on the street, feeling powerless in the world they cannot change, but when there's 40 of them, they storm a shopping center. They feel absolutely powerful. But is that positive? Is that beneficial? And will that long-term help them? No. And that's the point where I'm coming from in this. When you start to look at religious fundamentalism, which is behind a lot of the bad things we see happen around the world, it all starts from this base of where our feelings of being insecure and unsafe because of what we've experienced and our trauma narrative gets shaped by what we're exposed to and the parts that our filters are brought in to steer us in particular directions. And that's the mechanism I want to unpack a little bit more today. Because it is so important, because every day I see people in the world and reality that is trauma do things that harm them in the long term, thinking that they're doing the right thing in the moment. And the only way to work with this is we ourselves need to understand it. We need to understand why I feel attracted by that proposition or by that statement and what is actually behind it. We need to start to learn the skill sets of discernment again that trauma took from us. Remember, in a lot of my videos I talk about how the approach to healing trauma and coming out of survival is the same as an infant and a young child growing up in a secure, happy family. Here's another example of it. Discernment. How does a young child learn discernment? How they learn what they particularly like and what particularly supports what they're trying to do against everything that is offered. We need to relearn that skill because our survival state, our trauma response has taken that from us. So we learn that through the engagements, yes, but we also learn the ability to take a half step and go, okay, what is in this for me? What do I gain from this? What are the beliefs behind this? We start to explore and ask the questions rather than blindly aligning ourselves because we're triggered. I see it all the time within the comment threads of social media, people that have gone through trauma triggered that go after someone without any understanding and have completely misinterpreted whatever a person has said. I've experienced it numerous times with statements that I've made. And I wonder why and how people got that from what I wrote. But I also understand that their narrative is being shaped by what they've connected to, what they listen to have an outlet in that particular direction. Their beliefs have been altered by others to serve somebody else's narrative that their trauma response is aligned to. And as I said in the beginning of this video, this is how fundamentalism works. And yes, when we talk about fundamentalism, we all think about, terrorist organizations, but they're political organizations, political parties that are exactly operating in the exact same way. There are media outlets that operate in the exact same way. Everything we're exposed to is manipulated. Everything is not exactly true. It is all supporting multitudes of narratives. And when we come from a trauma base, unfortunately, we do have to be mindful of this because it can shape our narrative in a direction that is not supportive of our healing and our well-being. And the sad reality is we are the only ones that can do that for ourselves. In response to some of the questions that I've had from people that have asked me about this, as I've said, it's taking the moment to learn discernment, to start to ask the questions of really, what am I getting from this? A moment of feeling powerful, of feeling in control may be beneficial for the moment, but what's the price tag? What am I letting go of, or what am I relinquishing to have that single moment of feeling powerful? what are these belief systems doing that are actually helping me to unpack my own experiences and to relearn my own narrative, to heal my own survival state, not just align with what they're telling me to believe. It's learning these layers of discernment through asking questions. Journaling, I find, is really helpful in this because or mind mapping, it's a way of unpacking this in a visual representation and something you can refer to and go back to. I myself just step things out in understanding ecologies. Is an ecology that I'm stepping into supportive or isn't it? How and what is it going to feed? What is driving it? But that's my way of interpreting things. I come from a base which is more indigenous based, viewing things and everything as living. In a modern world, journaling is an excellent way to mine things out. To be able to see is, okay, this association, this organization or this group and the belief systems they have, how does that feed me? How does that feed my healing, my growth, and the future that I want for myself? When we start to learn this discernment, when we start to learn how to ask the questions and how to interpret the answers, we can better protect ourselves from being manipulated in ways that are negative towards us. And we can start to find the groups that are actually going to be of benefit, that are actually going to be supportive, because there are plenty of groups that are. I really hope you guys understand where I'm coming from with this video and all the videos that I make. As always, I love you guys' comments and support for the channel. Please be mindful, please be safe, and I will see you all next time.